Bontempo?
Here.
Ms. Weber?
Here.
Mr. Capelli?
Here.
Dr. Pascucci?
Here.
Mr. Santana?
Here.
Mayor, you have a form.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and stand for a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence on our troops both home and abroad who protect us tirelessly each and every day. Thank you. So before we roll into the agenda, we are live, Wendy? We are. So this is the first meeting. We are live streaming, so people can watch our meetings from wherever they are. People who can't get to the meeting, traveling, and you want to watch the meeting. Today's the first, so big accomplishment. I want to thank Sharon for all her work in putting that together for us. A great job. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from January 14th. Have a motion?
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Capelli?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mr. Santana?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Bontempo?
Yes. So we brought in our professionals who are now going to do our fire presentation. I know many people are here just for this presentation, so we will present and then answer questions. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, Sharon, so who's going to go up first? Is that going to be the architect? You're going to kick it off?
Through you, Mayor, I'm going to start. I'm going to go through all of the slides that we have here, which has a lot of information. Then we have our township engineers and our township architect here who will be available to answer any questions and any more specifics that we have,
Thank
that
you.
either the committee or members of the public have. Okay. So we're just going to kind of go over who we had involved in coming up with this analysis, a proposed design for a firehouse, locations and options that we looked at. We had several suggestions from members of the public, several suggestions from our township committee. So I just want to outline what we've done, and then look at the locations that we considered after we ruled some out, and what is feasible to do or not do, and kind of look at the department as a whole and goals for the future, including the first aid squad, as we look at public safety as a whole. So as I said, we had residents, a lot of concerns and feedback. I got some emails and phone calls from residents. Their input really mattered to us. We have the township architect, Anthony Iovino, who's here to answer questions, the township engineers, Greg Valesi and Ben Matlack. I apologize, Greg. This version, your name's spelled wrong. Town council, Mike was involved, members of the fire department, thank you for your time. We got their input, as well as we met with the first aid squad, and we even brought in appraisers, and I can't thank the township staff enough. We had a lot of members from the township working on this project. Okay, so this is the proposed very draft design of the firehouse. It would include 3 bays. It would include large meeting spaces or training rooms. This is a very draft design because we might have to reconfigure based on some conversations, and some of the potential bedrooms, locker rooms might become another area. There's an area for a lounge, a kitchen. It's approximately just under 10,000 square feet. We looked at that size compared to other firehouses that are in our neighboring towns. The average, we took a brief analysis of some of the ones close to us, and the average among them was 10,104 square feet. So we're kind of right on target. It's also important to note that some of these other towns have several firehouses. So we looked at finding someplace here on the municipal complex. We looked at the unencumbered land at F&F, which I think many people are familiar with. We also looked at the option of using the preserved land at F&F, the corner. There's a property on Holmdel Road. It's across from Holmdel Funeral Home, a big vacant piece of land we analyzed, and also on West Main Street across from Vonage. Other ideas that were presented were, could we expand the existing facility at Crawford's Corner? Could we build a new first aid building and retrofit the existing Crawford's Corner building? Expand Centerville, repurpose a building here on the municipal complex site, construct a 2-story building so it had a smaller footprint, and we looked at various other parcels that the township owned already. So we had an evaluation criteria. Would that site or that idea be cost effective? Is the location, is it centrally located? That was something that was really important. Do we have control of it? Is it in a residential neighborhood? We had a lot of feedback of concerns in the residential neighborhood. Was it near a main roadway, which is pretty important to a fire department? Are there environmental or physical restrictions on the parcel that we were looking at? Is it close to our volunteers? Would there possibly be significant time delays in moving forward? And any other notes and considerations to see if the option was overall feasible. And so of all of those options that we just mentioned, there were 5 that could potentially move forward. The municipal complex, the unencumbered area of F&F, building a new first aid building, expanding Centerville, or the F&F preserved could possibly happen. But as we dug further, building the first aid building wouldn't meet the needs of the fire department. And the whole reason that, and retrofitting the existing building, the whole reason we started this was to try to meet some of the needs of the fire department. Expanding Centerville, the building's not centrally located, again, did not meet our goals. And the F&F preserved, it would be such a long process in order to swap that site, plus there were some resident concerns. So we eliminated those 3 options, which left 2. Finding a location here on the municipal complex, and we did, which I'll show you in the next slide, and there were several pros, including that all of the public safety would be on one site. It is clearly centrally located and not in a residential area. We already have control of it, and it's likely the fastest of all of the options to complete. Some cons, we have to determine some specifics in terms of the post office lease, which we would have to look into. There would be some grading work that needs to be done. It's a relatively small site, and there could possibly be congestion on peak hours. If we moved forward with this option, we would need the TC to approve the location. Then we'd need approval for that survey as it relates to the post office, and then move forward, Township Committee approval to move forward on the engineering and the architectural work. This is that proposed location. For some of you, this is brand new because I just got it today. When we met with the fire department, our original location on municipal site did not allow for drive-through bays. This building is the bright blue highlighted on the map. It kind of looks like an awkward shape, but this would allow for drive-through bays and a fire building that's the same size, and we can fit all of the needs of the fire department in it. Happy to go into detail. If you look, the 2 gray buildings to the bottom right are the post office and then the senior community center, so everyone can get their bearings. And across the street, the lower gray building on the left is the existing facility. So that's approximately where it would be located if we moved forward with the municipal site. Looking at the F&F unencumbered parcel of land, the pros for that, it's a large amount of space, centrally located. We have control on it. Some of the cons, obviously we had a lot of concerns from residents. It is in a residential neighborhood. There's the wetlands and flood hazard. It's the curved roadway, and it could potentially be a very long process for all of the approvals that we would need for that. Again, if we wanted to move forward, we need the TC approval. We would need to do a study to see what the effect would be on property values, which would cost the Township Committee about $10,000 to $20,000. We would also need to do an environmental impact study and then move forward with the engineering and the architectural work. Should the TC decide to move forward with this option, this is an approximate location of where the building would be. Again, it's approximate. We might have to move it closer to Roberts Road. Roberts Road is running along the bottom. As we look at building a firehouse and fire needs in general, there are three kind of goals that the township has. We want to improve the conditions for our current volunteers. They risk their lives every day for the residents of this town. We want to improve our ISO rating. That will help everybody's insurance rates go down a little bit. And we want to improve the response time to make sure that we are protecting our residents. And so listed below are things that we can do in order to achieve those three goals, including building a new firehouse, developing an incentive program, making capital investments, increasing the number and adequacy of our fire companies, increasing the number of locations. So as we look at this and move forward, we have to consider all of those. Which means that in addition to building a new firehouse, we have to work on recruitment of volunteers, capital investments. There are needs that are coming up in the near future for the department. And as I said in the beginning, the first aid squad, they have expressed some needs that they also need to expand. They need some training space, they need some office space, and storage space. So we have to consider that as we make any decisions. So what are our next steps? The township has to decide, are we moving forward with the construction of a firehouse? If so, we have to select the site and do the proper due diligence as I outlined. Then we have to consider expansion for first aid. A recommendation would be, if we're building a new firehouse, to let the first aid squad fully occupy the existing Crawford Corners building, and identify another location for our OEM equipment that's currently there. And then we need to consider in the 2020 budget process, both recruitment ideas for the fire and first aid, and also capital planning for both of those as well. And I think that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions of the township committee, and we are all here to answer any questions that anyone else may have.
So is there anything that the professionals want to add to what Sharon just presented before? Okay. Any questions or comments from the committee?
No, just a comment. I'd like to thank Sharon, the town engineer, and the architect, and whoever else for doing a very good, thorough analysis. This is important to have. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you also. Great administrator, great job. I also want to say, hopefully tonight we can pick a site for our centrally located firehouse, and then move forward. I'd like to hear from the public on their opinion and questions they have on this presentation.
So any other questions? We'll meet the committee first, Tom. Kathy?
Yes. I'd like to add my thanks. I very much appreciate this analysis. I have a question relative to completion time. If we're to move forward this evening on the municipal site, what general time frame? And I know all these things, and this might be for the engineers, all these things are, subject to a bunch of variables, but what are we talking about time frame wise?
I see the architect. I would estimate about 18 months till completion. Are you saying 6 months till a shovel in the ground? Or till bid package? Yeah, approximately 6 months until we have all of the specs ready for a bid, and then approximately 12 months from that, lots of ifs dependent, till completion of the firehouse. Do you agree, engineers? Again,
That's reasonable.
I'm sorry?
That's reasonable, yeah.
And again, there are plenty of ifs. We are going to have to do our due diligence, and issues sometimes come up. I would hope that they wouldn't, but if we're aggressive, we can probably do 18 months.
Anything else from the committee? Open to the public. Any public questions? Yeah, come on up, Ron.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Ron Emma, 32 Ladwood Drive. Thank you for the presentations and the screens, which are great. That looks fantastic. Could you maybe put the diagram of the two locations as I refer to them up? Would that be possible?
My apologies, I didn't mention this earlier. This entire presentation is currently posted on the website under the Fire Department tab. And I saw two typos, so I'll correct those. My apologies.
My concern is the whole firehouse issue fire safety was just about the firehouse. I'm not up here to say that there is not a need for a new first aid building, but clearly it looks like we're now tying the new firehouse location, wherever it may be, in with the first aid station. The study that Dr. Carter did was fire safety, was not first aid safety, it was fire safety. So clearly, I could foreshadow what's going on here, that the needs of the first aid station, which I'm not saying they don't need or shouldn't want, what I'm saying is, why can't we handle that next? Let's handle the fire safety, decide where it's going to be, build it, and then we go on to the first aid. Because if jockeying between the fire department and the first aid station is just going to delay everything, in my opinion.
So let me try. So they are separate, right? This presentation was on fire. The first aid needs have arisen that we are going to address independently of this. So it's not tied together. So first aid is not tied to this building, nor is any part of this building. But first aid is a very active group,
Sure.
and they have some needs based on some growth that they've had. So we're going to be addressing them in addition to fire.
But one is not contingent on the
Correct.
other.
Correct. Completely separate.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public on fire? Yes.
Hi, Arpita Bathani, 18 Exeter. I just had a question. Some members of the Township Committee insinuated that a decision would be made tonight, and I was...
Can you speak a little louder? It's not picking her
Sorry.
up. I think it's a mic? It's on? Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Excuse me. Some members of the Township Committee insinuated that a decision would be made tonight. My question is, you mentioned during your presentation that certain studies needed to be done as to which site was appropriate for the firehouse, and I just want to know, are you making a decision tonight, or are you going to wait for the studies to be completed?
I think part of the decision tonight is to move forward with the studies to make sure that first the majority of us has to be in agreement on a site, and then to commence the studies, Sharon needs approval from us to order to move to the next step. Am I correct, Sharon?
Correct. The studies would be, once we pick a location, there's due diligence that you would need with any project, but you wouldn't do them both at the same, you wouldn't do them twice if you're moving forward with one site, you wouldn't do the work on the other site. So with this information, some direction from the Township Council on which way they'd like to go, and then we would prepare the resolutions for the next meeting to move forward with those particular studies.
Okay. So if a study is completed and on the site that you choose today and it is deemed to be inappropriate, what happens then?
We would have to go back to the drawing board.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of the public? Yes.
Sean McDermott, 4 Riverside Lane. Couple concerns and questions.
You may need to pick up the mic so it picks you up, or it's not gonna.
Couple concerns regarding some decisions. I read through Dr. Carter's report and his study, and clearly he was indicating in his report that there were some deficiencies in terms of our volunteer staffing. Where are we at with that? Are we putting the cart before the horse in terms of building a new firehouse, and we haven't solved Centerville's issues based on the report? Where are we at with staffing and all the criteria around that? And his recommendations, have all the committee members read this report, and are they focused on his areas of critique and suggestions to fix things?
Sharon, you wanna?
If you recall in the presentation, we talked about several issues surrounding fire that we have to address. And so we will be addressing that. One of the main things, there were 3 main things: firehouse, recruitment, so we had more members, and making sure the current conditions are acceptable, and capital needs. So all of the recruitment options and the capital needs relate to the 2020 budget. They would come out. That's part of the budget process, so we're not forgetting about that. We can do a couple of things at the same time, so they will be part of the entire 2020 budget process.
But there's a glaring need for recruitment and volunteers. Why are we spending money on studies and evaluating sites when we don't even have personnel?
Can I say something?
Yeah,
We do
go
have personnel.
Yeah.
We have personnel that respond, and they've been doing great lately. We need this place so we can get more volunteers. We need the place so it's centrally located so they can respond to the people in the south as well as they do to the people in the north. So this isn't a one-step thing. My feeling, and other committee members can have theirs, is we need a site. First, we need a site where the members can come, where the members can grow. The members are growing, and we can ask the fire chief later, if you wish, how many members he has. They've been responding greatly. We need more. But in my opinion, you need a place for them to be, to respond quicker to the whole of Holmdel.
I believe we have 44 members currently.
And what is the requirement in a study that, or the recommended requirement to have 2 firehouses? How much personnel do you need? And where are we also at in terms of paid members? That, because that is also in the study. I'm not hearing anything on that. So personnel-wise and the cost of personnel and volunteers, we need more information. There's clearly not enough coming from that I've heard of or seen posted.
Yes, so a couple of things. One, we're not pursuing paid members at this time. We've done a great job with volunteers. The guys have done a great job, and gals, on recruiting and training, because it's a lag period. So when somebody volunteers, they have to go through a multi-month training process before they're certified, and they can actually ride on a truck and respond to fires. The amount of calls these guys went on, I was just at their installation dinner for 2020, and they have members that are going on, over 200 plus calls a year, which is an incredible amount of calls. So these guys respond to everything. They back up other towns back us up. They have a great relationship with for mutual aid with other towns, and we help each other out. These guys, I could tell you that the incentive program that Sharon mentioned is something that we're trying to do to recruit more people. We're doing everything in our power to retain the volunteer status that the fire department currently has, but we're doing something different this time. So we're taking it on our property. We're building the building so it's township owned. We just purchased a truck that's on order that's going to be in hopefully the end of the year for a new fire truck, and we are investing in the fire protection and the emergency services for our residents.
The questions aren't geared towards what the volunteers as far as their makeup and how they perform. The question is whether we have adequately thought about the resources that are required, that are recommended in this report, to help them do the work that they do. And we all are for fire safety in town, but we want to make sure that we're not going out and building a firehouse without putting all the other proper steps first, Dr. Pascucci.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. Anybody else on fire? Yes.
I got to do 2 jobs. Scott Goldstein, 24 East Lawn Drive. Well, thank you for getting to this point. We've been waiting to hear some demonstrative progress on this, and this has been fabulous. I have one simple question. Is the egress from the fires, the proposed location, is that on directly onto Holmdel Road, or is it onto that, I don't know, Everett Road, or is it onto the road on, that goes towards DPW?
I don't,
I assume you're talking about the municipal complex
yeah.
location.
Yes.
That is intended to have the fire trucks exit onto Crawford's Corner Road, driving through the bay from Garden State Art Center Road, and you would drive through and come out onto Crawford's Corner.
So from this proposed location, it would be directly onto Everett's Road, or onto Garden State, and then turning onto Everett's Road?
Directly onto Crawford's Corner Road.
Okay. I applaud your creativity in designing the building. Maybe we should evaluate as a municipality approaching the post office, and maybe seeing if we can get the post office to move so we'd have more space there to work with. And I realize that's a big, but post office volumes are going down. It might be easier to get them to relocate and use that space. Okay, just pointing that out.
Go ahead.
That is a component, Mr. Goldstein, of this location where we need to analyze the ground lease that the post office has to determine if it needs to be modified in any form, and if it does, which we suspect is a possibility, we're going to have the fun task of reaching out to the federal government and trying to negotiate with them. That's part of the consideration of that site, but if that's the site that's selected, we'll certainly embark upon that, and hopefully they see the municipal need here and can cooperatively work with us to get that taken care of.
And just a third observation that I've thought about this for a while when we were playing with the old building there was whether they were going to could they make use of the parking lot behind the community center to help drive through in that area to access the building. The issue that I see of the way the building is located is you've got 3 egresses. You've got Garden State Road, you've got the new one into the fire department, and then the one into the post office. I can see that being a really congested area for traffic and with the concerns that go along with that.
I just wanted to add on to Mr. Collins's comments. That is why we have the need for the survey. We entered into the lease with the post office, I believe, in 1973. We don't have a clear survey. That's why that would be the first thing that we would do. And then all of those egresses would be analyzed by the engineers when we do our final engineering on the project.
And I'd assume that part of their engineering efforts that someone would do at least a preliminary evaluation of a traffic study for that corner.
Yep. Absolutely. Any of us in public? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Teresa Graw, 2 Falcons Ridge Circle. Can anyone please comment on... Oh. Hello?
You have to bring it really close to you, Teresa.
Okay. Can anyone comment on the Centerville Road firehouse in terms of how this all fits in? So this is a fire safety program we're talking about tonight, but the focus seems to be only on the new firehouse. So what is the fate of the current firehouse, Centerville Road? Is it going to have enough equipment? Is it going to be housed like with volunteers?
Yep.
Certainly in terms of numbers of people, that area of Holmdel is very crowded as opposed to, as you go further south.
Through you, Mayor, we have no intention of shutting down Centerville. Centerville will remain open and active as a firehouse.
Yeah.
But do we have any details about the number of, how the volunteers will be placed and the equipment and things like that, or is that coming at a later date?
That's
in terms of volunteers, the fire department's an independent agency. Their volunteers will be at both locations at various times. I believe it's anticipated that at least 1 apparatus, if not 2, will remain at Centerville.
One of the things that we have here that they don't have now is whenever we do preparation for a storm that comes in, the emergency services personnel usually live in their building. And prior to this building going up, they had nowhere to sleep. So now, going forward, if they want to be on call for 24/7, they be living in the building. This is the building. This is the building they're going to be doing the training in. This is the building they're going to be having their meetings. And so we expect a lot of activity in this building, and then supplementary, the other building is going to remain active as well with equipment in there too.
Centerville was always built as a satellite firehouse, not a main firehouse.
But, in actuality, given what's happening with the Mount Laurel requirements and the development that is going to be going on very shortly all along that corridor, a lot of construction, a lot of people, I don't know how wise it is for us to be giving up a facility that is
No,
really...
we're not.
We are not giving it up.
I'm kind of hearing conflicting things. It's a
No.
satellite.
So
But I
it's
just-
going to remain as a live, active fire station. Even for our ISO rating, we may need 2. Sometime a little later, we may need even 3 fire stations, because it's important that we cover that area of Holmdel. We need to have a fire station that has that's able to cover that area. So Centerville is not going to be closed. It's going to be an active fire station, and in addition to that, we're going to have the main complex here at the municipal location, municipal complex.
Which is the same situation we have with First Aid. First Aid has a location here, and they have a location on Centerville. And so we're going to do the same thing for fire.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Bill Hennigan, 13 Florida Drive. Thank you for responding to my inquiries the past couple of weeks. You guys have a very difficult job ahead of you. You've done a very good presentation tonight. But since you've identified a lot of pros and cons, the general public may not have been able to absorb as much as you probably have already. I'm going to guess you are leaning towards one side or the other. Obviously, since I live around the corner from the Roberts Road site, I would be opposed to that preference. Would you say before you vote, would you be able to tell the public if there are more cons against Roberts Road or against the municipal complex?
It's not a vote like that. I'm willing to state for the record right now which site I prefer, and I happen to prefer the municipal complex site.
Yeah, same here. I prefer the municipal complex site.
Bill, I mentioned that months ago that I thought that the F&F site was the wrong location because we've looked at it for other facilities in the past, a rec center and other things. So I encouraged the committee to look for other sites, and I agree the municipal site is my preference.
All right, I'll, yes, Mayor.
Sit back and wait for the vote.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's just that, listen, you know me, Rocco.
I know you.
Why wait until the vote if you can possibly impact the vote before it takes place?
No, and I appreciate you reaching out. I really do. I don't think we would have been here without Sharon and her leadership and her guidance in the town. So I don't think this option of the municipal was even something we even thought remotely being possible if we dialed back the clock a couple months ago. So these guys all publicly commented and acknowledged the work she did. We wouldn't have this option. And I'm telling you the truth, it wasn't for her and the professionals that are sitting, beside you today. So I think I really think that the work that they puts in a very good solution for this town that will take us for decades going forward.
Good. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Anybody else in the public? Yeah, Ralph.
Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. Good evening.
You're going to have to hold the mic, too.
Nothing more? Okay, we'll try this. Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you, Sharon. We've been waiting for something like this for too long, but being systematic about going through what the options are, putting it all down on paper and letting everybody look at it is the way to go. So thank you again. Just a couple of questions about the picture that's up there right now to make sure I and everybody else understands it. The T at the left side, that's the community center, I believe?
Correct.
To the right of that, the next pinkish whatever building, that's the post office.
Yes.
In the lower right is the existing fire station
Correct.
/ first aid.
Correct.
And what's been proposed here is that becomes only first aid. So they get their own building, they get more space because the fire people move out. Above that building, those various shaped things, that's DPW.
Correct.
Okay. So the light blue, green, whatever you call it, you want it, is the new proposal.
Correct.
It's got an odd shape, but that's the way things go. Which is the section that would contain the trucks?
The lower one, closer to the.
Okay, so
on the
their
bottom.
entrance would be going down? So they
Yes.
could then either turn right or left to exit from where they're at and then get out to Crawford's Corner Road?
That's correct. The trucks would enter from the back, and they would come out the front and out onto Crawford's Corner Road, and would be able to go either direction.
Okay, so then the offices, training rooms, all the rest would be in that
top square.
the topper piece.
And this is a very rough draft. I wanna emphasize that obviously the design's going to need to change. This was a ninth inning switch in terms of the location to meet one of the requests of the fire department. So this is not an exact representation, but it will be something like this.
Now, to the left, just below and to the left from where the trucks are, is some, I can't read it from here.
Handicap parking.
Ah,
And one
okay.
and one non-handicap parking spot.
Okay, and so to the left of that, that's in fact right now is where in fact the post office does use for parking.
Yes.
And that's why you need to look at what the arrangements with the post office are, and if you add additional parking in back or however the whole thing works out.
Yes.
And then above the new firehouse, there's a little dotted rectangle. What's that?
That's our radio tower.
Ah, okay. That needs to be there
Yes.
also. Okay, thanks for the explanations. And I look forward to some of this moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Jay?
Jay Yanello, 18 Ladwood Drive. I'm just curious. I realize this is preliminary, but do the trucks come in like they're going in the... They go in and they turn like this to come into the... Do they go up and then... When they're returning, they go up and then do they K-turn in? How do you envision that?
They would come up.
I see a smile on your face, so help me out here.
They would come up Garden State Arts Center Road.
Yep.
And they would make basically a 180-degree turn, which sounds crazy, but we did put a turning template on the plan preliminarily to make sure that worked. So we have done some preliminary work to make sure that is a viable option, and that'll be part of the overall design.
Does that mean no backing up theoretically, or you need to do some backups?
Theoretically, no backing up.
Okay, interesting. And again, at the 50,000-foot level, what do we think this might cost versus the $5 million number that was thrown out there? Roughly, is this half of it, 2/3 of it? Roughly.
Roughly, it's around the number that was originally proposed for this. It's not quite $5 million. We did spend some money on a fire truck recently. We're estimating about $350 to $400 all in. Per square foot. Again, that's an estimate.
Yeah.
We are a public entity. We have to go out to bid. Bids could be higher. They could be much lower. A lot of it will depend on the amount of public work that's out there at the time.
So you're saying with the truck and everything, we still could be near that number?
Yes, with
Yes.
the truck, we could be near
Okay.
the 5 million.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public? One more call? I'll close public comment.
Mayor, if I just want to reiterate, I appreciate everybody acknowledging me, but we really did have a great team here. The engineers, the architects, they probably hate me for the amount of times I've emailed them at nights and weekends. The fire department, the first aid squad, Dave DRC, our tax assessor. It was really, really, and I'm missing people, I apologize. It was really a team effort, and I think we have a good result.
You want to make? Okay.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward on the municipal complex site for our priority to build the new firehouse.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I like to second it.
Can you do a roll call, please, Wendy?
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mr. Santana?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Bontempo?
Yeah, so this was probably one of the more challenging things Sharon in her short tenure had to fulfill that we tasked her with, and I think she really did a great job. It has the least impact on the residents, provides the firemen what they need, going to give the first aid what they need, and overall, I fingers crossed, I think it's going to be an outstanding project for the town. So, yes. Thank you. With that being said, we're open up to public comment on agenda items only. So any public comment on the agenda items on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I'll close public portion for agenda items. Do I have a motion for agenda items 2020-85 through 2020-96?
Move.
Second.
Roll call.
I have a
Oh.
comment first.
Yep.
Yep, I need to read a statement for the record. I have conducted a review to determine if I have any potential conflicts of interest with respect to the township business that require my recusal. The bills list regularly indicates payments to Verizon and its related entities, and my spouse is one of 135,000 employees of Verizon. Considering Verizon is a multinational publicly traded company and the recurring bills appear to be routine phone line payments, it is likely that any potential conflict of interest with respect to these bill payments would be insignificant. That said, in the interests of full disclosure and fostering transparency, I'd like to place on the record my recusal from all procurements and bill payments involving Verizon and its related entities. Tonight and in the future, I will exercise this recusal by voting for the bill payment list and doing so with a note. That note will refer to this recusal that I am placing on the record this evening.
Roll call, Wendy.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mr. Santana?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
With a note, yes.
Mayor Bontempo?
Yes. So, introduction of ordinances, Wendy?
Introduction of ordinance 2020-05. It's an ordinance concerning checks returned for insufficient funds. Motion to adopt on first reading, published in the Asbury Park Press, and set public hearing for Tuesday, February 25th, 2020.
Move.
Mr. Collins, can you just provide an overview of this one, please?
Sure, Mayor. This is kind of a cleanup ordinance. Our chief financial officer identified that there were certain instances where checks were returned to the township, and the statutory requirement to charge a fee for a returned check requires a resolution or an ordinance, and you can only charge up to $20. So the CFO requested that we impose that $20 fee to discourage people from bouncing checks, and also the ordinance follows the state law provision that you can permit the CFO or the tax collector to require someone to not pay by check if they bounce multiple checks, which I understand is to prevent some accounting issues for the finance department.
You have a motion?
Move.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mr. Santana?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Bontempo?
Yes.
Hearing on ordinances. Ordinance 2020-02 is an ordinance establishing attendance policy for appointed officials of the Township of Holmdel. This ordinance was published in the Asbury Park Press, posted on the bulletin board in Town Hall, and copies have been made available through the clerk's office and on the table in the rear of the room.
Any questions, comments from the public? Seeing none, close public portion. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mr. Santana?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Bontempo?
Yes.
The next ordinance up for adoption is ordinance 2002-03, and it's establishing traffic and bike safety committee. This ordinance was published in the Asbury Park Press, posted on the bulletin board in Town Hall, and copies have been made available through the clerk's office and on the table in the rear of the room.
Want to make any statements?
Yes,
Go ahead.
yeah. So I would just like to reiterate what I said when we first introduced this ordinance, that the purpose of this committee, is to really look at things we can do as a township to enhance our traffic and bike safety. This is not with reference to policing or police issues, which is, they're doing an outstanding job in that regard. We're really looking at creative ways that we can make this town a more walkable, bikeable town through securing grants, through bike lanes, through a lot of things that will involve members of the community, education, safety, those types of issues.
Any questions, comments from the public? Seeing none, close public portion. Roll call, please.
Do we have a motion?
Excuse me, motion.
Move.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Vitale? Yes. Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mr. Santana?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Bontempo?
Yes.
The next ordinance up for adoption is ordinance 2020-04, which establishes Financial Advisory Committee. This ordinance was published in the Asbury Park Press, posted on the bulletin board at Town Hall, and copies have been made available through the clerk's office and on the table in the rear of the room.
Councilman Santana, do you have any comments?
Sure. So first, I'd like to urge the public to start to look into participating in the Finance Advisory Committee. It's important because first, one of the things that the committee has to do is to look for alternative forms of revenue, look at our finances, do some projections, help guide the township in how we spend our money, including incentive programs for the fire department, whatever the case may be. But I think it'd be good if we can have people who've spent a lot of time in the finance industry participate and provide guidance. Thank you.
Thank you. So, public questions or comments on this ordinance? Seeing none, we'll close public portion. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mr. Santana?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Bontempo?
Yes. You good? Okay. Departments, updates, Administrator?
I have no additional updates tonight.
Yes. Bill, CFO?
No additional comment tonight.
Okay, thank you. Attorney, Mr. Collins?
Sure. Good evening, Mayor, and good evening to the public. The only thing I'd mention is that, as you are aware, the township's involved in litigation against New Jersey Natural Gas regarding the proposed regulator station to be placed along Holmdel Road. There is a public hearing that is scheduled for this Thursday before the Office of Administrative Law's Administrative Law Judge, and any residents who wish to enter public comments into the court's record are invited to attend that hearing, which I believe is scheduled for 6 p.m. at the Senior Center. So any public member may attend that. The Township's counsel will be there as well that's handling the matter. At its core, the hearing is an opportunity for the judge to hear from local residents, and it's a requirement of the Board of Public Utilities procedures. So any concerned members of the public should certainly take advantage of that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Engineer, Ben?
No additional comments, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Boards and committees, start with the Deputy Mayor. Kathy?
Oh, no boards and
Committee Ms. Pascucci?
Thank the committee for moving forward. It's a great step. We have a site. We'll go forward. I'm very pleased. Thank you.
Committeeman Santana?
Nothing.
Committeeman Critelli?
Quickly, the Phillips Park Baseball Improvement Program should start next week, weather permitting.
Good. Thank you. So the only additional update I had is covered by the attorney, really communicating out the New Jersey Natural Gas hearing Thursday, 6 p.m. Is on our website. It's on our sign in front of Town Hall. We did a robocall to get the message out, so we're really trying to get a large grassroots effort of people to that are interested to attend, because I think it's going to be a strong showing that that this community does not want that regulator system in Holmdel. Yes. So any additional business from the committee?
Yes, I have one thing, and that is, I don't know if you all noticed the box in the front of Town Hall when you came in. It's for recycling of plastic bags, and I joyfully brought a giant bag full of them, including all those silly dry cleaning bags. And I would just like to thank our green team for putting that together. If we get, I think it's 500 pounds of plastic bags worth, we get a Trex park bench for one of our parks. So clean out your closets and your plastic bag stash and bring them to Town Hall anytime and recycle them. Thanks to the green team.
Yeah, no, it's actually a great program. In fact, Sharon and I attended a Bayshore Mayor's event about a week ago, and there are multiple towns looking to adopt similar programs, and some towns are looking to adopt a single-use plastic bag ban as well. So I think there's a lot of movement in this area, and I think this is a great start. And applaud the green team for putting that in place. Thank you. Anything else from board or committee updates? With that, I'll open it to the public. Public comment. Good night. Comment? Yeah.
He's going down there to speak as a public.
Oh, I thought you were leaving. Carol? Okay, well, I didn't know.
Carol Bomber, 96, oh, sorry, 5 Douglas Drive, Holmdel. Okay. I have trouble with this mic, as you know.
I know.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to try and paraphrase what I just passed out to the committee. Say what? Okay. All right, is that better?
Yep.
Okay. I know there's a 3-minute curfew on what time we have to speak. So basically, the reason I gave you each a written copy of what I'm trying to propose or ask questions on is because I want it to be held in the public record and put on the record, what I just submitted to you. My first concern is the 3 minutes, of course, and the fact that even though we only have 3 minutes, if the Township Committee chooses to address what the concerns are from the public, that 3 minutes is often used up by the committee, and I don't think that's fair and just. The second thing is the newly appointed attorney. Will the newly appointed attorney have some extended time as far as catching up with everything for New Jersey Natural Gas, and will he request that at the public hearing? Okay. The third thing is the newly appointed attorney before the Office of Administrative Law is in defense of the zoning board's 2 denials on the New Jersey application, now appealed by the applicant. And my concern is that in the appeal process, the New Jersey Natural Gas Company did not submit the full minutes, testimony, and tapes from the 2 public hearings on the 2 applications before the zoning board. I think the attorney should definitely request that be added to the procedure. Let's see. The other thing is the 2 applications are now merged in one appeal before the Township, before the Office of Administrative Law. Therefore, everything, again, that was submitted at the 2 public hearings before the zoning board and on the denials should be submitted, including the 300 petitions that were submitted in protest at those hearings. All right? Now, also, there is currently over 500 petitions of protest, and it's ongoing in this township. And I think the new attorney should be privy to those petitions of protest as a form of his arguments in the position of defense of the township's position. The Environmental Commission, they also opposed the zoning board. Rather, they supported the zoning board's denial and opposed. Shall I stop?
You keep going. Finish your statement. You finish
Okay. Okay. They also opposed New Jersey Natural Gas zoning application, and I believe the Environmental Commission should be encouraged to submit everything that they basically protested or did not like about the New Jersey Natural Gas application. In other words, their documentation on this should be presented as well for the township attorney to use.
Ms. Baumer, if it's all right with you, I skimmed through your question, so perhaps I could kind of provide a response that
Okay,
addresses
sure.
everything. All right, and thank you for your comment. To your point about the attorney, the township has hired Peter Dixon as counsel. He was appointed as special counsel at a meeting just last month in order to represent the township in this matter. As you know, we can't discuss active litigation here publicly. We're not going to be discussing litigation strategy, but we certainly appreciate your public comment, and it's well taken. And I can assure you that we'll pass it along. The administrator will, in her discretion, pass along any feedback from the public that would be constructive in supporting the township's case in this matter. And I can assure you that he's certainly well versed in the entire record in this case. So the zoning board and the previous proceedings that you mentioned are all subject to appeal before the BPU. So that's all part of the record, and he is certainly reviewing that and certainly taking any step appropriate as part of the litigation to represent the township's interests. We can't get into any specifics, but I appreciate your points, and they're well taken.
Just to follow up on that, let's try it again.
my main concern is that I think it was in the appeal papers, the claims by the New Jersey Natural Gas, or perhaps it came from the Township Committee. I'm not sure where it came from, really. But it was stated that nothing from the previous hearing, I think in 2016, 2017, and then going into 2019, 18, as far as the two denials are concerned, nothing from the first hearing could be applied to the second hearing. But now we've got two merged applications together. We're not even sure where this thing's going to be because they're basically applying for two different locations. So
I'm not going to publicly comment on the legal issues presented by a potentially merged case, but what I would suggest is if you or any member of the public has any concerns about either location or this issue in general, I'm sure bring your comments to the hearing on Thursday, and I think it would be up to the judge if he advises whether this is specific to any location. But my guess would be that they'll be accepting testimony on any of the issues presented in this case.
And you will submit my comments here to your attorney.
We will review them in consultation with the appropriate parties. Thank you.
I also just want to add for everyone in the public, you can also submit written comments if for some reason you can't make the meeting or if you'd like to do both. The public notice is right on our homepage. There's a news flash about the hearing on Thursday, and if you click on that site, you can get the full address. I would read it here. It's a long address, but you can submit them to Trenton.
Okay, to follow up on that, how many days after the hearing do we have to submit comments?
Is it
on the website?
You know?
I'm not sure. The whole public hearing.
On the website when you find out?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mike? Rocco, you're next.
We had a bit of a battle royale over there. Mike Sokol, 6 Wild Hedge Lane. Again, I also have a disclaimer I must offer, which is although I am on the school board, I'm not speaking for the school board or on behalf of the school board. I had a request, and I think the mayor and I have had this conversation actually in the past, and my request would be that on this committee, the Traffic and Bicycle Safety Committee, could you add sidewalks? Could you include sidewalks as one of the things being studied by that committee? Because I think that's always been one of those areas that's been a gap. I think that the way that our residential neighborhoods play out, certain strategically placed sidewalks could really help out for students attending the SATs and the high school, for example, which could reduce bus traffic. So I would strongly recommend if we could make that adjustment. The other thing I was going to say, I may be speaking ahead on this, but I'm pretty sure there's no problem with it. I don't think this is a state secret, but the school board did do a traffic study around the high school area, and I'm sure that data would be available for the committee. And what I would only ask, Kathy, is if whoever you decide to be your chair, have them reach out to me, and I'll see if I can get them that study.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Commander Vescucci? A citizen, Vescucci?
I know you might think I'm a doofus, but Rocco Pascucci, 24 Hyacinth Court. I'm speaking as a citizen, not as a committee member representing the people. People come up here, say good things, they say bad things about us. I'm going to say something good about someone who used to be up here, has taken a little bit of a bad rap. Pat Imperveduto. Known him for a long time. He was Mr. Superstorm Sandy. He helped anyone. People could call him Democrats, Republicans, people he didn't like, people he liked, and he helped them. That's his nature. He felt as a committeeman, we have to help each other, and I think he did. And I do not believe in my heart that he would do anything criminal. I'm just speaking up for him, and I think he would help us all, and we should help everyone too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public? Yes, come on.
Gene DeMarco, 1 Ashton Court. Question regarding the site, and going back to the proposed fire station in the municipal. If it's, for some whatever reason, but I think it's a good location, for whatever reason, if it find that it cannot go there, does the public get notified on a new proposed site, or how do they get, or do we know pass or fail, or if pass, great, if fail, when the new location will be do we have to go through all this again?
Yeah, so I envision that we will update the public at every township committee meeting where there's an appropriate update.
Okay.
Especially on this as we progress and fine tune that we can fit it there. And as we get the actual artist renderings of the building, we'll share them publicly.
Okay.
We may even put them on a easel in the hallway outside here, so people coming in can see them. We may even put them in the library so people can see them over there.
Okay.
We're going to try to over-communicate. This will be in the newsletter going forward, so we'll make sure if by chance if something happens and we have to, go back to the ground, we will then re-notice everybody and put on the agenda that we're doing another presentation because of X, Y, and Z.
Right,
So
that's pass or fail.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sir?
Bill Bongiorni, 15 Spalding Drive, Holmdel resident, 25 years. I love it here. Hats off to everybody, you're doing a good job. The gentleman a few minutes ago talking about walking.
You got to keep the mic.
The gentleman a few minutes ago talking about walking.
Yeah.
I lived on Cherry Hill. They put sidewalks there. Best thing in the world. Do it. All right. Make it a walkable town. Okay. Now, I live in the Regency and very tight community, great community. We were discussing politics lately, and unfortunately, a lot of people that moved to the town from other towns or other states constantly complained about the infighting going on. I think all of you are above that. I've been in this town for 25 years. I voted across parties. I think you guys can do better than that. Govern. Please govern. Okay? I mean, let's be real. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Comment, Karen?
Karen Strickland, 26 Hayward Hills. Although I'm speaking right now as the co-president of Citizens for Informed Land Use, CLU, usually we get up here and we're yelling and saying, do this, do that. And I just want to say thank you so much for everything you're doing for advertising the New Jersey natural gas. We've been kind of fighting it for years, and to be part of the same team is really wonderful. Thank you for the robocall. Thank you for the signs. Thank you for everything. It's been great.
My pleasure. Thank you. And yeah. And I spoke at the last administrative law judge hearing on this back in...
We're going back, I think it was 2017.
2017, and I'll be there again on Thursday. So we're going to try to get the point across as best we can to reiterate that we don't want this thing in our town. And I do believe the attorney that we have on this case is a superb attorney, is going to do a great job for the town. So I have a lot of confidence in his abilities and his success. So more people turn out, I think the better it's going to be, showing this judge and everybody else that we don't want this station where they're trying to propose it. Anybody else in the public for public? In the back, yes, miss?
Hello, Teresa Graw, 2 Falcons Ridge Circle again, and I just wanted to reiterate a little bit of what the gentleman the prior gentleman said about trying to really bury hatchets and try to go forward on this committee, because I think that there was a lot of progress made tonight on a controversial issue. Everyone got together and everyone got behind it, and everybody in this room seemed very content that you're now going forward with the firehouse study. And frankly, a lot of residents that I've spoken to are very annoyed by the fact that now we're going to be paying for potentially more attorney's fees for infighting. We don't want it. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public? Sure.
I just want to thank...
Could you state your name for
J&L 18 Ladwood Drive. I just want to thank you, Mayor, and the Green Team and everyone up there for this plastic recycling, and I have a question about it. I've been in denial for a while that Monmouth County tells everyone to keep throwing this plastic in their garbage and into the dump, and I've actually built up bags at times saying they're going to pass something, and then I'm forced to throw them out, and I actually have a huge amount right now. But my question is, like, when you buy Poland Spring bottles, that heavy wrap, is that part of it too? what is it exactly? Is it just the ShopRite bags, or what is it?
In a previous community where I worked, we got a couple of Trex benches for that.
Yeah.
I have to double check on the Poland Spring. It is also posted on our website, and on the Trex website, it has every
The
specific.
specifics?
I
Okay.
know dry cleaning bags, the bubble wrap, or I get Amazon all the time. Those
Yeah.
Amazon blow up bubbles, all of that type of plastic, as long as it's clean, is eligible, and you can put it
So
in
it's
there.
on the website.
It is on the
specs?
website.
Okay.
It was in the newsletter that went out. And then if you need even more specifics, there's a website. It's nexttrex.com, I think.
Okay.
That
And is there a
website.
limit to how much they'll take? Because you may actually get a bigger response than you want. I'm just wondering.
No.
No. So no? Okay.
Like I said, in the previous community, we
Oh,
had.
I have a lot already.
Yeah, I do
In a
too.
previous community, we got at least 2 benches, possibly 3, if I remember.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
You may get a dozen. Thanks.
It's great.
So one comment I forgot to make earlier on the boards and committee update is we've been getting continuous concern from residents about the overpopulation of deer in the town. So what we have discussed is we'd like to put an ad hoc committee together. We'll post on the website. I'll post it on my message going out in the next month's newsletter. So if people want to get involved, we're looking for creative ways. Commitment Pascucci did this going back probably 9 or 10 years ago, and it has some direction and guidance of things they've done. So, other towns are, I think, struggling with the same issue that we are. So we'd like to get some of the great minds in Holmdel to kind of pitch in and kind of come up with some ways, because we're open for suggestions. We work, our administrators reached out to the county and programs that they're running, but we want to see if there's more that we could do here locally. So look for that, and if you're interested, please reach out to myself or Sharon or any of the members of the township committee, and we'll put you in touch with the person who's going to be running that ad hoc committee for us.
Come on, Jay. Come on, Goldstein.
Anybody else?
Kelly, I hear you're for the deer and feed them all the time and love them. You should be on it too.
Greg, just one other thing relative to the Financial Advisory Committee and the Traffic and Bike Safety Committee. The forms to apply for those committees will be online as of tomorrow. Correct? So please do participate, because if no one volunteers, we don't have committees. So we're looking forward to having a nice response.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, miss, yep.
My computer's broken.
Francine Campus, 2 Country Squire Lane. I'd like to come up and just say it is so refreshing to be able to come to a township meeting and feeling like the dialogue is about the town as a whole for the betterment and for a concern for the residents. And I'm talking about the fire safety, and I'm talking about New Jersey Natural Gas. So I want to thank you. It really is, it's just so encouraging. Just on the note of New Jersey Natural Gas, have you reached out, because in my talking with people, there are people in other towns that are concerned about what's going on here with New Jersey Natural Gas. Have we reached out to other towns? Hazlitt, which I understand New Jersey Natural Gas is proposing a regulated station there. So have we reached out for them to join in our, I hate to use the word fight, but opposition to what's going on?
The best I could say in response to that is, Ms. Campos, I know that the township is aware that there's been talk about an application by New Jersey Natural and Hazlitt. So our attorney is aware of that, because that may affect our proofs in our case with respect to kind of coordination, since it's only really located in Holmdel. I can't imagine other towns are looking to chip in any costs or funding, but we'd certainly take it if they were willing to. But, we certainly will coordinate with any sister municipalities if there's any reason to do so in fighting the legal case.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Seeing none, I'll close public portion. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for coming out.